South Sydney Rabbitohs, they will be not featuring in finals footy after being knocked out of finals contention by their fiercest of rivals on Friday night. The Sydney Roosters, who will be there this weekend in an elimination final. And this is a team that come round 11, they'd won 6 on the trot and were top of the pop, and many people seen them as true premiership favourites. But Michael, even despite all the unrest that's occurred over the past couple of weeks, is there more to unearth tonight?
Well, the people inside the club who want answers as to what went wrong. It's one of the greatest capitulations, mid-season capitulations we've seen in a very long time, and they want answers to what went wrong. Now, one of the questions, from what I've been told, will be around, obviously, Latrell Mitchell, but more so around the football side of it and positional side of things, and whether or not there is consideration given to moving him from fullback to centre next year. Now, we know how devastating he has been at fullback at stages, but the question marks have been around whether or not he has the fitness to make that position his own long term. Now, Jason Demetriou, the coach, he thinks he can get the best out of Latrell Mitchell at fullback, but there are people at the club starting to wonder if a positional change is needed at the club.
So if he's not fullback, who is?
Well, Jack Whiten's coming to the club. He's brought to be a centre. Now, that gives them the option. Blake Taft's heading over to the Bulldogs, so he won't be there. But Jack Whiten, from what I understand, the consideration, or the question's going to be asked of Jason Demetriou, and whether or not he thinks that's a good move for the better of the club.
I don't understand all this talk about where it was talk from Latrell's coming. Latrell, as a fullback, has never changed the way he plays. He's always been able to do things other people just can't do on the football field. We know that. But he's never been an effort player. He's never been the player backing up the middle. He's never been the player making 20 runs a game, 200 metres. He's never been that Dylan Edwards, James Tedesco type player. He's always just had that X factor, can do things other players can't do. That's what he's always been like. So I don't understand why now we're pinpointing things that he doesn't do on the field.
Because, Gal, they've never been in this situation where they've missed the 8 with Latrell Mitchell, or they've been in this situation where a club legend walks out because he's not happy with the treatment around him and other players at the club. That's the reason this conversation is happening, because South Sydney haven't been in this situation before. And I think it's questions they need to ask. It might not result in Latrell Mitchell moving from fullback to centre, but these are questions, as they do in a review, that need to be asked. And Jason Demetriou is under enormous pressure at the moment.
Is he a fullback or a centre, Gus, Latrell Mitchell?
Well, I don't think it's anyone's business bar the coach. I don't know who in the club would be questioning where the coach plays him or why suddenly after this game, because they lost on the weekend because Latrell didn't play. Had he played, it could have been a very different story. But arguing right now about where Latrell plays next year, I don't think is a major part of a review whatsoever. I'm certain there are other factors there that are far more important about for South Sydney and why it fell away the way it did without questioning where Latrell plays next year. That's not the solution to their issues.
Latrell missed probably 10 games, did he?
He missed a fair chunk of it.
He missed a fair chunk of the season.
So, including last week.
To try and just blame it on him and where he plays, I think there's a whole, with Gus, there's a whole lot more things going on there than just where Latrell plays.
Yeah, you're not going to blame him for it, but the reality is...
Mate, it seems like everyone is.
Well,
that's what the whole conversation is around where Latrell's going to play.
To be fair, Gal, the centre of focus has been Latrell, because that's what actually started this situation, was concerns raised by Sam Burgess, the people at the club, around Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker, but more so Latrell Mitchell, and whether or not the club was getting the best out of him. That's the reason this has all come to a head. And the fact the team is losing, it's going to be exacerbated because of the fact they're losing.
That's not where their season fell apart. Anyone with any trained eyes knew at the halfway mark when they had a lofty position, they weren't playing the sort of football that was going to stay there. I think I said it a number of times during the year. All right, their position at the halfway mark was a false position. It was if they thought they were going that good, it's probably the reason why it did fall apart. They should never have held that lofty position at the start. If you go back and analyse their game and their performances, there was no time to be getting carried away with how they were going halfway through the year. And we kept saying that repeatedly. It fell away for a lot of reasons, Latrell Mitchell and what position he plays has got nothing to do with it.
With all due respect, you actually made the point before anyone. You predicted there were concerns around the way he contributes to that football team on this show.
No, you're putting words in my mouth like other journalists do. What happened on this show was that they put up the spine for South Sydney and they put up the spine for Penrith. And they said, what's the difference between these two spines? And I said, well, the other 15 teams in the comp would love to have them, either one, right, because they're as good as it gets. But this one's been to 3 grand finals and won 2 comps, and that one hasn't. They haven't performed at this time of year and got it done. They have. That's what I said. And then we went on to talk about Latrell. Latrell hasn't done it as a playmaker at this stage of the year, which he hasn't and still hasn't. All I was doing was stating facts. You people put words in the mouth and then want to attack Latrell with it. That wasn't what I was doing. You asked me to compare the spines.
No one's attacking
That's what
Latrell
I did.
Mitchell. No one outside the club is attacking Latrell Mitchell. It came from inside the club. It was Sam Burgess who raised the question marks, and there was John Morris, and then the club then tried to address it, and it resulted in Sam Burgess walking away. Sam Burgess doesn't walk away from the club if there aren't issues.
What is the latest on Sam?
Well, he's got to deal with Warrington next year. We know that he's heading over to be the coach of the Super League club. Now, there's been a lot of talk this week, and I spoke to people at Warrington because there's a suggestion that someone at South Sydney has reached out to Sam to see if he would stay at the club with all this pressure around Jason Demetrio. Now, Warrington said they have heard this. They have been told by people within the game that South Sydney want him to stay. Now, management have told me they have no intention of moving Jason Demetrio on and bringing Sam Burgess to the club. But that Warrington have heard it, though, and they've been reassured by Sam that he's going to go to the club next year. Now, the interesting thing is he's not qualified to actually coach Sam Burgess. He hasn't got a certificate that he's required to actually coach in the Super League or in the NRL. So the RFL, the governing body of the English Rugby League, they've given him an exemption to go over there and do his course online and finish it while he's coaching Warrington, because they can't afford to have Sam Burgess not coming out and coaching in the Super League because he hasn't got the paperwork required.